Hello there. Happy Saturday evening on this July 20th, 2024. Hope you're doing well. My name is James. This is 20th and 21st Movies, and tonight we are going to be talking about the X Trilogy. This is the Ty West series of films, three films in all: X, Pearl, and MaXXXine, that are from A24 Films. And these are films that have definitely generated a lot of excitement over the last few years, and they are films that are worthy of having a discussion. Of course, I had a chance to see MaXXXine a few weeks ago, toward I guess around the beginning of the month, the day after the 4th of July. Had a chance to check out MaXXXine, which is the third chapter in this series. And of course, I wanted to come on here, share with you my thoughts on, of course, MaXXXine, but then also talk about, or just talk about in total, this whole series of films that's called the X Trilogy from director Ty West and his wonderful, wonderful collaborator and star of all these films, the engine that makes the X Trilogy go, and I mean none other than the brilliant Mia Goth. So, on the other side of this, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the X Trilogy, X, Pearl, and MaXXXine. What you think about, what we think about each of these films, how you feel about this series as a whole. What did you think about MaXXXine? We're going to get into all of it, as well as the wonderful performances of Mia Goth throughout. So let's get into it. Got me a nice mug of peppermint tea here for this live stream. Just got it going here. Also have me some nice yogurt here, some nice vanilla yogurt to go here as well. Just got back from my son's basketball tournament. He had a couple of basketball games this afternoon, or this evening, over in Stone Mountain, which is a bit of a hike from where I live in another part of the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia. So just got back from that. Fed my dog Shiloh, got him squared away. So he is happy. He is fat and happy right now, and just jumped on here to share my thoughts on this wonderful series. So let me see if there's any comments out there so far. And we got just a couple people out here so far, but I know a lot of you will probably catch this on a replay. We have Eddie here from Fans of Something. How are you doing, Eddie and Haley? He says, "Hey, James. So my thoughts on the X Trilogy are pretty simple. Absolutely love X. Not a fan of Pearl. Okay. Thought MaXXXine was just okay. I deem this trilogy as a trilogy very few asked for." Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably, fall in that camp, Eddie. Thought MaXXXine was just okay. I think that's a feeling that a lot of people, had with that film, walking out of the theater there. So, yeah, I definitely look forward to hearing your thoughts. If you're catching this live, if you're catching it on a replay, please drop your comments in the comment section on what you think about these films. What do you think about X? What do you think about Pearl and MaXXXine? And what do you think about each of the films and how they fit together? Were you satisfied with this series of films? What did you think about them? Did you like the aesthetic of these films? Let us know in the comments section below. So let me go back here, and let me go ahead and share my screen, and we can get into some things here. I'll share my screen and we can talk a little bit about the goings on here. So I should be sharing my screen now, and we will start here. So yeah, we have director Ty West. He is, of course, the director of these films. Excuse me. He is the director of these films, and he is from Wilmington, Delaware. If I can move this out of the way, he's from Wilmington, Delaware. He was born in Wilmington, Delaware. You see a little picture there, some pictures of downtown Wilmington and the Christina River, Delaware Art Museum, the Nemours Estate. Um, I'm not sure who the Nemours are, but I will definitely be reading up on that after this screen here. Daniel S. Frawley Stadium, Quaker Hill Historic District. That's the flag of, I believe, this of the state of Delaware. And then this is the seal of the city of Wilmington, or it could just be the flag of Wilmington. I'm not sure, but this is Wilmington, Delaware, which is the birthplace of Ty West. He went to uh, college at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. So he went there for school, and it's at the School of Visual Arts that he was under the tutelage of Professor Kelly Reichardt. So Kelly Reichardt taught him some courses there and introduced him to Mr. Larry Fessenden here that you see pictured down here. And Larry Fessenden helped to finance two of Ty West's first films, The Roost and Trigger Man. So definitely want to hear in the comments section. I have not seen The Roost or Trigger Man, but let me know if you have seen either of these films from Ty West. So this gives you a little bit of background on Ty West, the director. And I think it's interesting to just know a little bit about, hey, I love these films from this filmmaker. Who is this filmmaker? Where is he from? Where is she from? You know, what is their background? How did they get into filmmaking? What inspired them to make these films and to get into filmmaking in the first place? What is their path and their journey? And you know what I find with all of these directors, I do a Taste of Director series on this channel. They all have different journeys. They all have different inspirations. They all have a different story, and I think it's interesting to learn a little bit about the director. So that is, of course, director Ty West, and then of course the stellar collaboration between Ty West and Mia Goth. You know, Mia Goth is, of course, the British actress who is the star of all three of these films. She is literally the engine that makes these films go. I don't know what these films would be were it not for the performances of Mia Goth. Would these films be worth watching? Probably not. She is definitely the engine of these films, and this is just a magical collaboration between these two wonderful artists. Of course, Ty West wrote the first film, and I believe Mia Goth added a writing credit for MaXXXine, as well as she may have also co-written Pearl. I'll have to double check that, but she is a huge, huge force in these films. Now, in terms of the commercial performance of X films, let's talk about that, because we want to get an understanding of, okay, how have these films performed at the box office? We got three films to look at here. We got X, which in North America did 11.8 million. It came out in 2022. Did 11.8 million in North America. And outside North America, about 3.3 million. So about 15.1 million worldwide. Not exactly setting the world on fire, but the budget was about $1 million. So it was about $1 million budget for that film. Pearl, An Extraordinary Origin Story, came in at 10.1 million worldwide box office. So 5 million short of X. And not only that, but its budget was about $8 million. So the budget was, quite a bit more for Pearl versus X, but it brought in about 33% less in terms of box office. So did not do as well financially. And now MaXXXine is still in the theaters. So far, it has grossed 14.7 worldwide. And at this point, it's looking like it will probably just barely eclipse X during its theatrical run. So in total, worldwide for the X films, the X Trilogy has brought in about $40 million worldwide across these three films. So not, huge in terms of these three films, but, that's the performance of these films so far. Now, let me share something else, if I may. I will share another piece of information that I think is pertinent to see, and that is when we think about A24 films. So the all-time worldwide box office for A24 movies. So A24, fantastic, fantastic outfit. Um, just wonderful, wonderful outfit of films here. And I definitely want to just go over this box office performance so far. And the one film I forgot to pull, I have it, is literally right over there. I'm not going to get up and pull it, but it's Everything Everywhere All at Once is the all-time leader so far for A24 films, bringing in internationally or worldwide $111 million. So Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Best Picture winner, Best Supporting Actor winner, and Best Actress winner for Michelle Yeoh. Yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once is the box office leader for A24 so far at 111 million. Now, not too far behind it is a film that I finished just last night, Civil War, starring Kirsten Dunst. Man, I tell you what, this is an amazing film. Amazing film. Absolutely, really enjoyed this film. Looks great on that 4K. Absolutely fantastic. Another really cool film from A24 that's in the top three is Talk to Me, which came in at $92 million. So this is another good A24 film. You have Hereditary, Lady Bird, Moonlight, which was Best Picture winner in 2016. I do not have that one. The Whale, Uncut Gems, Criterion Collection release. Is this the only A24 film in the Criterion Collection? Let me know that in the comments section. But A24's Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler, absolutely fantastic. This is a Safdie brothers film. Fantastic, fantastic. You have Midsommar, The Iron Claw, with Zac Efron. Of course, The Witch here coming in at number 11 with 40 million. You have Ex Machina, which I also have. I have not pulled that one. Just some wonderful, wonderful films. I'll tell you what, one of the best films that came out, I think, last year, Past Lives. So yeah, we're talking the X Trilogy tonight, but you know, we're just showing a little love and respect to all things A24. You have The Lighthouse. I don't have that on physical. And so it's not until you get down to around, let's see, where does the first, yeah, it's not until you get to, okay, where is Pearl at? I see MaXXXine here at 25 with 16 point, it says 16.4 million here. Okay, so MaXXXine, then you see X at 15 million worldwide and Pearl down here at 10 million. So you have MaXXXine at 16, X at 15, so that's about 31 million, and then Pearl bringing it into about 41 million. So they're 41 to 42 million in total box office. And then, of course, I think this is another A24 film here that I do not like. I wish I had never bought, and that's Under the Skin. I do not like this film at all. I never plan to watch this film again. I just don't like it. I love ScarJo. Absolutely love Scarlett Johansson, but this film just does not do it for me at all. It's just one of those, skip, double skip, triple skips. But then we have X and Pearl. And you see where X and Pearl kind of rank relative, X and Pearl and MaXXXine, where the X Trilogy ranks amongst A24 films box office wide. MaXXXine coming in at 25, X at 27, and Pearl coming in at 37. So, you know, on the lower end of box office earners for A24 films. So let me see what else we have out here. So yeah, what do y'all think about that? Let me know that in the comments section. So let me get back to where I was with the presentation. So we are going to go back to these slides here. So the first film that we want to talk about here is, of course, X, This is the film that basically started this series of films, and because you have X and Pearl, so X takes place in 1979. And what I really love about this film is I love the aesthetic of the film, and that's what is so special about this trilogy of films is that each film, they're all part of a cohesive trilogy, but each film has its own visual aesthetic that is unique to itself, but it all fits together into this one singular beautiful story. So in the case of X, it is set in the 1970s and 1979, and the aesthetic that's applied to this film is basically, grindhouse 70s cinema. It looks like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that type of vibe in terms of the way it looks and the type of film it is. It just looks like that 70s grungy grindhouse cinema type film. And it has that look, and it is so cool to see a film in that aesthetic. See, to see a modern film with that aesthetic to it, I just absolutely love it. I love films from that period, and I think this film here kind of nails that aesthetic very, very well. Now, X and Pearl, Pearl is the prequel to X. It came out, it's the second film in this series, but it's a prequel. And both of these films were filmed at the same time, and they were produced under rather unique circumstances. And that's largely because of the thing that was going on around 2020, the thing that was going around that was causing a lot of problems. So the filming of X took place in New Zealand, and that location was chosen for its effective handling of the pandemic. It allowed the production to proceed with fewer restrictions. So they didn't have as many restrictions in New Zealand, so they were able to, proceed with their production there. And the isolated and picturesque setting of New Zealand, provided the perfect backdrop for the film's rural and eerie ambiance. So Ty West cleverly utilized the same locations and sets for both films, shooting Pearl immediately after wrapping X to maximize resources and maintain continuity. The pandemic necessitated some pretty strict health protocols, including regular testing, quarantine periods, and limited interaction between the cast and crew. So these measures basically ensured a safe filming environment and allowed the production to move forward without any significant delays. And that ultimately contributed to the successful completion of both films. So basically, they filmed X, and then they went right into the production of Pearl. So they shot them, back to back. And then there was a gap of some period of time, not too terribly long, but there was a gap before they began the production of MaXXXine. So this, of course, is X. This is the film that started it all. And this is on the cover. You have a Mia Goth here on the cover. And then you see the back here. It says here, "Dying to Show You a Good Time," written and directed by Ty West. So just an absolutely phenomenal film. You know the aesthetic. It's that 70 grindhouse setting. You have this house. You see in the center there, you see this sheriff arrive at a murder scene at this farmhouse, and they're wondering what in the heck has gone on. And then it starts there, but then it flashes back to a couple of days before. And you see the arrival of these young people here who are shooting a film, basically an X-rated film, as part because they're part of that X-rated adult film industry, and they're shooting a film, and they choose this location. You see the director there who is telling the old man, not really giving him all the details of what they're doing, but just renting the farmhouse for the purpose of shooting this film. And then, of course, you see at the bottom there, you see a preacher preaching on the screen. So all of these elements are coming together as part of the aesthetic of X. So, of course, X is a slasher film. It's set in 1979, and you have this group of young filmmakers who are trying to make an adult slasher film or an adult film in rural Texas. is really the setting of this film. You see Jenna Ortega there at the front. They rent this guest house on a remote farm that's owned by an elderly couple, and that is what plays into Pearl, Howard and Pearl. So Howard and Pearl are the elderly couple who live on this farm, and let's just say that they have a backstory, they have a history, and that history is explored in the prequel called Pearl. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but they get into some things with these young people shooting this film, and things start to get pretty crazy not too long after this film starts. So as night falls, the group's clandestine activities come to light, and the elderly hosts react with unexpected and lethal violence. So basically, what's really cool about this film from a thematic standpoint is you have themes of, voyeurism, that are at play in terms of some of the characters kind of looking in on things unbeknownst to the person that's being observed. You have this whole thing of exploitation, given the type of films that these people are involved in and the seediness of their activities. You have this theme of aging and desire, which is really borne out in the character of Pearl, which is very interesting because Mia Goth, you see her in the back there of this group here. She is one of the young people shooting this adult film, but she's also playing the old lady as well, named Pearl. So she's playing both of those roles, and that's part of the brilliance of the writing of this particular film is casting Mia Goth in both roles of the young lady MaXXXine here, and also casting her as the elderly lady Pearl. And that is such a beautiful move by Ty West to do that. And then, of course, you have, violence and repression. Those themes are at play as well, just how, repression can lead to violence. If a person feels repressed and trapped, then that person at some point, that's just going to build up so much, frustration and frustrated energy that eventually it's going to, come out in ways that are destructive to that person as well as people around them. So just absolutely incredible in terms of the themes that are covered. You have, of course, MaXXXine Minx, who is Mia Goth. You have Pearl, who is Mia Goth. You have Wayne, who is Martin Anderson, the film's producer and MaXXXine's boyfriend. You have Bobby Lynn, who is played by Brittany Snow. She is an adult film actress. You have Kid Cudi, who is a Vietnam War veteran, who is also an actor in this film. And I'm gonna stop sharing here. I'm gonna reshare again, and we're going to go to my IMDb, where you will see X here and see this wonderful cast. You see Mia Goth there. See the director. They're involved in some seedy. They are filming some pretty seedy things. A24. They're on their way to this farmhouse to do this film. You see there. They arrive at this wonderful house. This is the old man here that they encounter, who is the owner of the house. There's the woman there, the elderly lady that's looking in on them. So yeah, this gives you a flavor of what this film's about. It is just, and I just love this film. It is such a cool film in terms of the aesthetic, in terms of the execution of the story. I just really dig this film. It says in 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in a rural Texas farm, but when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the crew find themselves fighting for their lives. Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow. This is, of course, Mia Goth, and this is Brittany Snow here. You see Mia Goth is playing MaXXXine. You have Jenna Ortega, who plays Lorraine in this film. Kid Cudi plays Jackson. Owen Campbell plays RJ. He is basically the cinematographer, if you would. Martin Henderson plays Wayne. He's the director of the film. Brittany Snow plays Bobby Lynn. She's the adult film actress. Stephen Ure plays Howard in this film, the old man. You have Simon Prass, who plays the televangelist. You see him on the screen, preaching, and that plays a very important role in this film. James Galen plays the sheriff. So just a fantastic cast, and I think they all do an amazing job in this absolutely extraordinary film that is called X. So hopefully I stopped sharing there. Let me see what other comments you have. There's just a few people out here this evening. It's all good. X was one of the better horror movies of the last few years, one you can rewatch. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, X is what a film. You have Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Martin Henderson, Brittany Snow, and Scott McCooty, who's also known as Kid Cudi. So really, really good film. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a film that I recommend if you're interested in that type of a film. He said that all the actors were good. I totally agree. I mean, I think they all did a really good job, in terms of portraying these characters, just inhabiting this world of the late 1970s and just this whole aesthetic. I think they all did a fine job. So I was very happy with it. So let me get back to, so that's the first film. That's the first film in the trilogy, X. Of course, then we're about to get over to the second film in this trilogy, which is, okay, is it going to allow me to share my screen again? I don't know. Is it going to allow me to share again, y'all? I'll try this again. Here we are. All right, so we're back. So these are, again, this is my last slide for X. But yeah, great characters. And again, I just love that Mia Goth played both of the roles of MaXXXine and Pearl, which played beautifully as you go into the prequel that is Pearl, that came out the same year. It came out later in 2022, and man, what a great film this is. This is a really good film. This is the prequel to X. So like I said, X took place 1979, had that Texas Chainsaw Massacre grindhouse cinema vibe to it. Then you go to the prequel, which took place around 1918 to the early 1920s, what have you. So basically a World War I period. And you go from that grungy grindhouse style to this now Technicolor, bright, colorful Wizard of Oz almost vibe that you get in Pearl. Mia Goth, of course, stars in this film as well. And in this prequel, she plays Pearl again, this time back in 1918. So about 60 years before the events of X, she's coming back and she's playing Pearl as a young woman. Of course, she was an old woman with Howard when the young people encountered them on this farm in 1979. This takes us 60 years earlier to when they were both young people. And of course, you have Pearl living on this same farm with her family, her mother and her father. She is living in a very repressed environment. And you begin to see the effects of that on her. Of course, she is obviously a bit disturbed to begin with. So the repression that she's living with only inflames the disturbed nature of her psyche. And it results in some pretty crazy things. So basically, Pearl is a prequel that explores the backstory of the character Pearl. It's set in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic, and it follows young Pearl. She's trapped on her family's isolated farm, and she dreams of stardom. So Pearl wants to be a star. She wants to to achieve success in the entertainment industry. And so she's grappling with her overbearing mother and her invalid father. So her father is sick. You see, her with her father in a wheelchair there by by the dock there. On the dock there, you see an alligator in the background. You see Pearl there with an axe and a nice, wonderful red dress there. Um, and then you see her in that same red dress about to go for an audition before these people at the bottom there. So this movie is something else. Seeing Pearl's origin story, man, is an absolute hoot. So, you're dealing with dreams and delusions in this film. Of course, she has aspirations of fame, but those aspirations are juxtaposed with the very grim reality of her life, which highlights the destructive nature of unfulfilled dreams. She has these dreams that she may or may not have the talent to fulfill, but she's in this oppressive environment and it all just sort of comes crashing in on her. You have isolation and madness, which this film examines how isolation, both physical and emotional, can lead to psychological breakdowns. And we see that in her character. I mean, you look at her on this movie poster, she doesn't exactly look like an altogether there person. It looks like there's something loose up there, Generational conflict, the clash between Pearl and her mother represents a struggle between duty and personal desire. She has these dreams, but she feels trapped by duty in this house with her mom and her invalid father, and she desperately wants to break free of it. So, just a fascinating backdrop of a story. This, of course, takes place in the same farm that these young people in X encounter in 1979. You have wonderful characters, an amazing cast of characters here. You have Tandy Wright as Ruth. She plays Pearl's mother, very oppressive zealot, if you would, and just really holds her daughter under her thumb, and it just creates destructive effects on her daughter. Matthew Sunderland as father. Of course, he's invalid, and there are some issues going on there and challenges with that situation, and that also messes with Pearl's psyche. You have Superman. Superman appears in this film. You have David Corenswet. He's the projectionist. Superman was a projectionist, and he knew Pearl. And of course, David Corenswet is in this film, and he develops a relationship with Pearl, and it goes into some interesting directions that I won't spoil. And then, of course, Alastair Sewell as Howard. So the old man that you encountered in X in 1979, that old man that they rented the farmhouse from, who's married to Pearl, he was in World War One, and of course, this is him, a young Howard back in 1918. So there they are. So of course, just amazing characters, wonderful story. And I don't want to go into a ton of details other than to say that this is a great origin story that explores further who is MaXXXine. Who is Pearl? Who is this old woman that you encounter in X? And you see her strange and weird, kind of creepy behavior. Like, what kind of woman, old lady is this? Where is this coming from? You see the backstory of that in Pearl, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I just love the fact that you had Mia Goth playing her as an old woman in X, and then you see Mia Goth playing the young version of Pearl, and it all just comes together perfectly and beautifully. Of course, Pearl had aspirations to be an actress, to get into the entertainment business. So her and MaXXXine have sort of paralleled aspirations. They both wanted or want to be successful in show business, and they both are a little crazy, or a lot crazy, if you would. They're both crazy, and they both want to be successful in the entertainment business. So Pearl and MaXXXine are basically, two birds of a feather, and they're beautifully portrayed by Mia Goth. So that is Pearl. Let's see what y'all are thinking out here. What are y'all thinking? What do y'all think about this? Do y'all like this discussion so far? Let me know your comments. I want to know what y'all's, what do y'all think about this? How do y'all feel about this trilogy? It says here, Gerald or Jerry, haven't seen these. Are you going to do a review of the excellent new release of Perfect Days? You mean this right here, Jerry? That would be a yes. I saw this last night. So, all right. Here's what I looked at. Here's what I watched last night. Earlier this week, I finished this film here. I mean, well, earlier this week, I started this film, Civil War. Might have been Tuesday night. I think I popped this in the player on Tuesday. And I watched the first, I think, 35 minutes, and I had to turn it off because I was tired. But last night, I had a chance to, hold on. Thought I had to sneeze. But last night I went ahead and finished it. And wow, what a great film. And it was late, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to pop this in the player. I did a poll on my community tab of, hey, which film should I watch? And I put these films up here. And overwhelmingly, y'all voted for Perfect Days. So that's what I popped in the player on 4K Ultra HD. Folks, I'm going to do a review of that title. 4K picture, immaculate. Beautiful. Of course, it's a relatively new film. It came out like last year, so it should be. But it looks spectacular. Just a beautiful, beautiful rendering of Japan, Tokyo. The story is magnifique. Wonderful. Just one of those cases of a simple story of a simple life of a person, but it is made in a way that makes his story so interesting. This is the same actor who played the detective in Cure, which is another release in Criterion. It's from 1997, and it is definitely recommended. If you have not checked out Cure, definitely consider picking up Cure, but I can definitely recommend Perfect Days. If you're thinking about with about a week to go on the sale, if you're thinking about what are some last titles I should consider picking up, consider Perfect Days and consider Cure. Those are two excellent titles. But yes, Jerry, it's a long way of saying that yes, I do plan to review this title on the channel, Jerry. See, I've only seen X so far, which I did enjoy. Yeah. Pearl is a very satisfying watch. It gives you the backstory of Pearl, so definitely worth checking out. I bought Perfect Days Thursday and watched it last night. I loved it. Reminded me of Ozu. Yeah, same here. Same here. It also reminded me of Jean Dielman. It sort of is Dielman-esque in certain aspects of it, but there's way more to it than that. But it definitely reminded me of Jean Dielman. Pearl might be my favorite Mia Goth acting performance of the trilogy. It's really good. It's really good. Pearl is fantastic. Been wanting to watch Civil War. Yes, Civil War is definitely worth a watch. I would definitely recommend checking out Civil War. It is definitely worth seeing for sure. All right, so we've talked about X, we've talked about Pearl. Now I want to talk about MaXXXine. And I've had a chance to see MaXXXine in the theaters a few weeks ago now, just over 2 weeks ago. And I processed it in my mind in terms of how I feel about it. And so I originally planned to do this live stream last Saturday, but I'm doing it this Saturday, which I think is good because it gave me a little bit more time to really think about and process how I feel about that movie and how I feel about this series overall. So let's go back to the wonderful presentation that I had here. To my slides. Of course, you see the wonderful characters in Pearl. So Pearl is the prequel. Takes you back to 1918. Then we go into the future. So we went from 79 to 1918. Now we're going from 1979 to 2020. I'm sorry, no, 1985, excuse me. And I'm sorry that this lettering is covering up. I guess when I made it into a PowerPoint presentation, the 2024 is covering Mia Goth and Halsey, you see there in the center. But you have MaXXXine, Hollywood is a Killer. This is taking place in 1985. So we go into the 1980s. This is the sequel to X. This is MaXXXine, who is coming out of the events of X, which I won't spoil. She's coming out of the events of X, and she is now trying to make a mark for herself in Hollywood. She's trying to become a star, trying to get her big break, like so many actresses are. You see her in auditions, trying to get a part. And I love vanilla yogurt. So good. Trying to get a part in a movie and just trying to break through. But of course, the ghosts of her past from the events of X are not staying in the past. They are making their way into the present, into her present, and trying to interfere in what she's trying to do and really making her life difficult. And because of her unhinged nature, is causing her to do the crazy things that we have come to know her to be capable of doing. So this is MaXXXine. Mia Goth is MaXXXine Minx. And of course, she's in Hollywood. She is in Tinseltown. She's trying to make it. You have Elizabeth Debicki is Elizabeth Bender. She is one of my favorite characters in this film. She is the director of the film that MaXXXine gets a part in. So MaXXXine finally gets her break. She gets this part in this film, and Elizabeth Debicki is the hard-nosed director that is trying to get her to walk the straight and narrow of, you need to show up on set, you need to be on time, and if there's anything in your life that is causing you a distraction, you need to get it out of the way. She is a hard-nosed, no BS director in Hollywood who is pushing to try to get her own recognition as a director and get her own big breakthrough as a filmmaker in Hollywood. And so she's trying to tell MaXXXine, look, you better get it together because I'm not letting anybody mess up my gig. And of course, you have Lily Collins here who plays Molly Bennett. She is a fellow actress who is also making it in the industry. So you have that Hollywood angle going on there that MaXXXine is trying to do her thing in. And then you also have some seedy elements going on. So as I said, the past is catching up with MaXXXine. You have this private detective, Private Eye, Kevin Bacon, who has been hired by somebody in the past who knows about the things that happened in X and who now want MaXXXine to pay the price for what she's done and to pay for her sins. They are not going to let her go. And they've hired Kevin Bacon as a private eye to track her down and to make her pay for what she's done. So she's trying to make it in Hollywood, but she's having to deal with this intrusion of people trying to bring her past back to haunt her. But she also has a friend in her court named Giancarlo Esposito's character, Teddy Knight, who is her agent and her lawyer. And he is going to basically have her back in this film and try to protect her and try to keep the bad guys or the other guys from trying to get her. So you have the agent and the private eye. So you have that going on in this film. You have the detectives because there's a serial killer on the loose. There is a person going around killing people, killing actresses, killing not actresses, but killing young ladies in this version of Hollywood. He is a serial killer, and you have these detectives who are trying to track down the killer. Some of these killings are taking place within the small circle of MaXXXine's friends, so that brings MaXXXine into play as a person of interest. They want to understand, why is the killer targeting these people? And so MaXXXine is feeling pressure from these detectives as well. So she's feeling pressure from people from her past trying to come back to get her. She doesn't know who it is who's trying to get her. So that's creating stress. She's trying to make it in Hollywood, and these forces are working against her to get in her way. And it's getting on her nerves, and she's going to try to do everything she can to prevent anything that's trying to stop her from meeting her goals. So yeah, so you have the detectives here. You have Bobby Cannavale, who plays Detective Torres. He's pretty funny. He himself was trying to be an actor in Hollywood unsuccessfully. You have Michelle Monaghan, who plays Detective Williams. I think they both played their roles pretty well. I also liked the performances of Kevin Bacon and Giancarlo Esposito. I thought they brought a lot to this film as well. And I liked Elizabeth Debicki. She is probably, other than Mia Goth, probably my favorite character in this film, Maxine. I thought she did a very, very fine job um, playing the role of the Hollywood director and really just giving Maxine the scoop of how to make it in Hollywood. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed what I enjoyed about Maxine was the setting. I enjoyed the Hollywood setting. I enjoyed the whole aesthetic. I thought the film was produced and made very, very well. It's a very well made film. It is probably undoubtedly the biggest budget of any of these three films, with of course X having a budget of about $1 million. You have Pearl with a budget of about $8 million. Maxine, the budget I think is still being tabulated. I don't know what the total is, but I was looking it up and did not see a published budget at this point. But I can only imagine it is well in excess of the $8 million for Pearl. So in terms of box office profitability, probably not there, but a very well made film. It looks good. It's very well produced. And so I appreciated those aspects of it. I think that Mia Goth did a really nice job in the role as Maxine. Um, but overall, I kind of left Maxine feeling a little, a little underwhelmed. I thought it was a good movie, but I was hoping it was great. And that's really kind of where I landed on Maxine. Let's see here. I know it's not part of the trilogy, but Mia Goth in Infinity Pool was so good. I have not seen Infinity Pool. I need to check it out. See, Jerry said, "Did you see my comment about Picnic at Hanging Rock? It's one of those masterpieces of cinema that you will be, oh my goodness, I can't believe I waited this long to see it. See this. Same for Godfather with me. Yeah, I have Picnic at Hanging Rock. I have the old Blu-ray version of it. And I'm glad I have that version because it has the novel in it, which I think the current version or the new 4K does not have that, but I have the version that has the novel on Blu-ray. Um, and I need to watch it. I need to watch Picnic at Hanging Rock. It's in my backlog. I need to check that one out for sure. Adrian says, hello, hello, Adrian. Hope you are doing well, Adrian James, saying hello to James. But yeah, I mean, overall, I felt like Maxine was good. It just wasn't as great as I was hoping it would be. I think that it put a nice capper on the trilogy, but it just wasn't. It didn't reach the heights that I was hoping for. And without spoiling anything, I don't want to. I don't want to get into spoilers here with it. I was just disappointed, with it in terms of kind of the third act aspect of it, and overall, it just never got into that gear that I was looking for. I was engaged the whole time watching it, but it never like got to that, point for me. I just walked out of the theater feeling like, oh, okay, you know, wasn't really it. I wasn't like blown away by it. So I don't typically do numbers on this channel in terms of number ratings, but if I were to do like a number rating to give you a flavor of how I feel about this series, overall, I feel like this is a really good trilogy series. I absolutely love these films. I will be rewatching these films, over the years, if I am able to. But yeah, I mean, I think these are great films, really, really good films. I'll say really, really good films. I think they make for a good trilogy. Once Maxine is available for purchase, probably on 4K Ultra HD, I'll be picking it up and completing the trilogy. Will I upgrade these to 4K? I don't know. I don't know. I might be satisfied with just having a 4K of MaXXXine and just having these Blu-rays of X and Pearl. That might just be good enough for me. So we'll see. I mean, I'll probably read reviews and see if they're worth upgrading for me. But for now, I'll just probably leave them on Blu-ray and just get the 4K of MaXXXine. I'm assuming MaXXXine will come out on 4K when it comes out on physical media. But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like the trilogy was solid. If I were to put a number rating on it, here is basically where I would come down. I would basically have X at about a 7.5. I would have Pearl at probably a 7.8. And I would have MaXXXine at about a 7. So overall, the series for me kind of comes in at around that 7.5 range, which, you know, for me, the way I think of like numbers, if I were to be on a number system in terms of rating films, I would consider like, you know, 10 to be like masterpiece, like one of the greatest ever, right? Masterpiece level cinema. 9 would be just amazing, just incredible, amazing, awesome, right? 8 would be great, right? It's great. It's not a masterpiece, it's not amazing, but it is great, right? 8 is great, right? And 7 would be good, right? So 7 is good, right? It's not great, but it's good. And then 6 would basically be, poor, and then below 6, you know, it gets worse from there. But so 7 is considered good in my book. So when I say MaXXXine would be a 7 if I were on a number system, which I'm not. But if I were to say that MaXXXine's a 7, I'm saying MaXXXine's a good movie. But what but it was a case of it was good, but I was hoping for great. So I was hoping it would be an 8 for me, and it came out to be a 7. Seven's not bad. It's good. It's just not as good as I was hoping it to be. So that's basically where I was with it. Let's see. Keep up the great work, brother, says Roaming Savage. Thank you, Roaming Savage. I appreciate it. Let me know what y'all think about this stream. I mean, I want to get your feedback. What is your feeling? How could this be better? What do you think about the presentation? What do you think about anything? Just feel free to share your thoughts. I appreciate it, and it definitely helps us make the content better. Still Walking by Corietta is a great film to watch after Perfect Days. Okay, good thought. Thank you. I may put that on the list for the November sale coming up. Let's see. The Movie Addict says, "Hi James, great to see you. Haven't seen any of them, but I do have Pearl. Excellent. Yeah, that's a great point. In terms of how should I watch this series if I were to jump into this series, I definitely recommend watching X first. I definitely recommend watching X first. I guess you could technically watch Pearl, um, but I Pearl first. But I think it's more satisfactory to watch X first, and then to watch Pearl, and then to watch MaXXXine. Either do that, or watch X, then watch MaXXXine, and then go back and watch Pearl to get the backstory of the Pearl character. I think either of those two choices would be a satisfying way to watch this trilogy from my perspective. You should make a list video of your tens. Oh, of my tens. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Good discussion, even though I haven't seen them. Informative. Great. Well, I'm glad you feel that way, Jerry. Yeah, I mean, that's really the purpose of this stream, is to just inform and just to talk about, a series of films that I just absolutely enjoyed. They are films that are not masterpiece films by any stretch of the imagination. I just said that X for me would be about a 7.5, which is right in between good and great. So very solid. I mean, a 7.5 is solid. Um, the worst of them, MaXXXine, is a 7, which is good, right? So you're talking about some good films, some really good movies. Pearl's about a 7.8. It just comes in just short of great, but really, really good, you know? So you're talking about a series of films that are very good, that if you just go into it with those expectations, you're going to be very entertained. You're going to really appreciate the beautiful aesthetic of each of these films, because they all fit together, but they all have their beautifully different aesthetics, with that grungy Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque style with this film. You have the Technicolor Wizard of Oz look of Pearl. And then, of course, the 80s, you have that 1980s aesthetic. You have the music, you have the neon, you had that beautiful look of the 1980s and the pop culture during that time. So they all look and feel a little bit different, but they all have that same thematic core, and that is driven by the amazing presence and performance of Mia Goth throughout the entirety of this series. She is the engine that makes this series go. Ethan said, I also love Still Walking. That one is definitely reminiscent of Ozu. Okay, I'll have to check that one out. Jerry says, if you love Ozu, you're going to really enjoy Still Walking. Okay, that's good to know. That is very good to know. But yeah, if you're catching this on a replay, let me know in the comments section. Let us know in the comments section what you think about these films. What do you think about X and Pearl and MaXXXine? What are your how would you rate these films in terms of, how would you rank them? How would you rate these films? What is your overall feeling of each of the individual films and the series as a whole? What do you think of Ty West as the director? Have you seen those early films from Ty West? Like, as was shown earlier, have you seen this film Trigger Man, or The Roost? Have you seen either of those films from Ty West? Let me know that in the comments section. But yeah, just great stuff. Of course, I think y'all mentioned the Infinity Pool that Mia Goth starred in as well, so I'll have to check that one out at some point. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you all for joining tonight. Really do appreciate you joining. Let me know what you think in the comments section about all things Ty West X Trilogy and other things going on in the world of physical media. And also be on the lookout on this channel for a couple of pieces of upcoming content. I do plan to do reviews of all of these titles on this channel. And of course, as Jerry asks, this one here as well, Perfect Days. So definitely look for reviews on this channel of all of these titles, with, of course, Perfect Days, Black God, White Devil, Victims of Sin, or Victimas del Pecado, I Am Cuba, or Soy Cuba, Saint Omer. So I plan to do reviews of all those titles on this channel, as well as 4K of Risky Business and the 4K of Farewell My Concubine. So definitely look for my thoughts on those titles. Of course, as we get ready to wrap up this Barnes & Noble sale at this Barnes & Noble Criterion sale for the month of July 2024, and get ready to head into August. We also have we have our Taste Director Series entry coming up toward the end of the month for M. Night Shyamalan. Of course, that's in advance of his film Trap coming out, so be on the lookout for that. So a lot of things going on this channel as we get ready to wrap up the month of July. Jerry's saying I'm going to check these out because I trust your judgment and film taste. I picked up and love to die for. I'm getting Dogfight tomorrow on your review. Well, thank you, Jerry. Definitely check out recent reviews on this channel. And of course, always leave your comments and your thoughts. They are always welcome. But hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday night and your weekend with Sunday tomorrow. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace and God bless.